Hello and welcome to Newsmax Now. I'm John Bach.
And I'm Miranda Kahn. Coming up this hour, we know she wants to win the White House in 2016, but the State Department wants to wait until 2016 to release Hillary Clinton's emails. Why a federal judge may not let that happen.
And House and Senate Republicans squaring off as key provisions of the Patriot Act are about to expire. Is Congress playing politics with national security? Or is an overreaching program about to go dark in the name of freedom? We'll break it down in our roundtable.
And another win in court for Apple in its ongoing battle against rival Samsung. But Apple shareholders may be the biggest winners of all. That's just ahead in today's Money Minute.
Newsmax Now starts right now.
And good afternoon and welcome to this Tuesday edition of Newsmax Now.
It's good to have everybody with us. The fall of Ramadi to ISIS is setting up what could be a major battle in Iraq, but also we're going to talk about Hillary Clinton's emails. We just learned that a federal judge has now rejected a State Department plan to release those 55,000 pages of emails in 2016. That's what the State Department wanted to do before its review of those emails. This judge now says they should be released in a rolling fashion or periodically. But before its review of those emails, a court filing last night, again, officials said it will take that long to go through all of these 55,000 pages of emails provided by the former Secretary of State. The emails come from her private email server, which she is refusing to turn over. They were also delivered on paper and could take more than a month to scan in. But again, a federal judge rejecting the State Department's plan today.
It looks like the battle over the Iraqi city of Ramadi may be just beginning. After ISIS took over the city on Sunday, Iraqi forces and Shia militias had prepared for a counterattack. The White House calls this a setback. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North says it's much worse.
The Obama legacy is going to be a bloodbath of unprecedented biblical proportions in Iraq because this is setting up the ultimate Sunni-Shia gunfight.
ISIS fighters have already reportedly set up defensive positions and placed landmines. More than 40,000 people have fled Ramadi in just the past few days.
The police in Waco, Texas, say they are still on high alert after Sunday's shootout between rival biker gangs. There are worries today about revenge attacks after 9 bikers were killed. A meeting between several of those biker groups on Sunday. That's where this all took place. Nearly 200 people have been arrested.
We have 170 individuals that we have arrested and are booking or have been booked into the McLennan County Jail. Those individuals are being charged with engaging in organized crime.
Now, some of the wounded remain in the hospital. The Twin Peaks Sports Bar and Grill, which was hosting that meetup of these rival gangs, has now had its franchise revoked for not providing enough security.
3 Marines remain hospitalized after a military aircraft crashed in Hawaii over the weekend. 1 person died. The Marines say the Osprey suffered a hard landing at a military base outside Honolulu. Investigators are still trying to figure out exactly what went wrong.
Several conservatives say they are cautiously optimistic about the president's new restrictions on sending military gear to local police departments.
We've seen how militarized gear can sometimes give people a feeling like there's an occupying force as opposed to a force that's part of the community that's protecting them and serving them.
Also, GOP Senator and presidential candidate Rand Paul commending the move, saying there's no reason for 20-ton military vehicles rolling down streets of America. And Trevor Burrus, a fellow at the Cato Institute, tells BuzzFeed that this is a welcome change.
15-year-old Montana boy died after apparently being shot by his friend. Police say Makion Schulte went over to a friend's house early Sunday morning. When his friend wouldn't wake up, he tossed a few pebbles at the window. That's when they say the other boy reportedly became startled and grabbed a gun. Officers say he shot out the window, hitting Makion in the head. Another boy who was there was not injured.
Well, the FBI has been taking a hard look at the front of a locomotive of that Amtrak train that derailed in Philadelphia. There have been questions about whether the train was hit by something just before the crash that killed 8 people on board. Investigators now say, though, there is no evidence that that damage was caused by gunfire. The train's rolling through the area. The first lawsuits have now been filed against Amtrak on behalf of 4 people hurt last week. The conductor of that derailed train has also filed suit.
Elian Gonzalez wants to come back to America. Gonzalez, who became the center of an international tug of war after being found floating off the Florida coast back in 1999. Now at the age of 21, the Cuban citizen wants to come back as a tourist. Speaking to ABC News, Gonzalez says he wants to thank the American people for all the love they showed him. He also says he wants to go to a baseball game.
Good for him. Idaho lawmakers have now approved new child support rules which undo a decision that threatened an international treaty. Last month, Idaho legislators rejected federal child support rules over fears they could be subject American courts to rulings made around the world under Islamic Sharia law. But federal investigators say there are protections built into that treaty. Still, it's designed to make it easier for single parents to collect international child support.
So we've heard from the president. Yesterday, he announced plans to demilitarize local police departments. Of course, this was amid all those riots that we saw in Ferguson, Missouri, and in Baltimore.
Yeah, and we talked about this also in the news update. According to BuzzFeed, the president's plan was welcomed by some conservative criminal justice advocates like Cato Institute and Senator Rand Paul, who says, quote, "I see no reason why a 20-ton mine-resistant vehicle should ever roll down any city in our country. The president can change some of this through executive order, and I commend him for doing so." But not everybody feels that way. Right?
No, our own J.D. Hayworth, host of Newsmax Prime, talked with former New York Police Commissioner Bernie Carrick and former NYPD Detective Tom Ruskin about this very topic. Here's what they had to say.
I think we have a different threat that we faced then. The threat of ISIS, the threat of domestic and international terrorism. I think we've seen some of this stuff play out over the last several months, and I think it's only going to get worse. So our police departments, they have to be prepared for those threats, and some of that may include the use of special weapons, armor, and other things that I think the White House is now saying they're going to remove from the police departments or limit their ability to have access to this equipment.
And to go further, I believe these specialized equipment is needed by police departments, especially smaller departments. Someone like New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, most of the time can afford this. If it's given to them by the federal government because it's surplus and it's either going to be sold or put in a junkyard, it's beneficial to a police department. Look at Ferguson and look at Baltimore in the last two major episodes of unrest in this country. Had the police and had law enforcement not had those vehicles, they wouldn't have had a way to protect themselves against things that were being hurled at them or when they were shot at.
And you were saying?
And I was saying, I don't think this gets to the root of the problem. I don't think it's about military equipment whatsoever. I think what needs to happen is more community policing, which most police officers and most members of the community will agree upon that.
I still remember a comment from a Facebook friend of mine who served in Iraq talking about a lot of times when they were doing the counterinsurgency and going into communities, when they would talk to people when they knew it was safe, they would always take off their body armor and take off their helmets to communicate with people, because he says that is a barrier between at least that tactic over there in Iraq. But I listened to what Tom Ruskin had to say, and it was, I think he has a point. Now think about where the Baltimore Police Department and Ferguson Police Department and the Missouri State Troopers would be without that equipment. Once things do boil over, I can see a need for them, but I also can see the concerns from a lot of community members about this type of equipment and the message it does send. I think it's a symptom of the problem, not necessarily, like you agree, not necessarily the cause of the problem, but something, we'll see.
Yeah, I hope we start seeing the more community policing programs going on, like we've been talking about, like that have been going on right now in California, that have been very successful. You need to get out there, take off that police uniform, go in these neighborhoods, be around these kids, be around these members of these community, let them see you in civilian clothing. And
that's something else the president talked about
trust,
yesterday.
You know?
Yeah, something else the president talked about yesterday, the ability to engage these communities. So certainly the debate does not end there.
No, it does not.
We'll talk about this more coming up. Also coming up here on Newsmax Now, metabolism, of course, as you know, slows down the older you get, but that doesn't have to stop you from reaching your weight loss goals or your other health goals. New tips and tricks, that's what I'm trying to say, about how you can jumpstart your metabolism.
And Senator Rand Paul takes a stance against the Patriot Act. How long can he filibuster this time?
Does he have those running shoes on? Plus another win for Apple in court against rival Samsung. Let's see why the best news may still be ahead for Apple and its shareholders. All that and much more coming back here on Newsmax Now.